Welcome to the first day of the St. Louis Regional Freightways virtual FreightWeekSTL 2022. I'm Mary Lamy, the Executive Vice President of Multimodal Enterprises for Bi-State Development, which includes the St. Louis Regional Freightway as one of its enterprises. FreightWeekSTL is being held in partnership with the Inland Marine Expo hosted in downtown St. Louis. We're kicking off FreightWeekSTL with Innovation Day, during which we're featuring emerging technologies that have the potential to dramatically change the movement of freight in the years to come. Our opening panel discussion this morning focused on the advances being made by the St. Louis startup Intermotive Autonomous Rail in the development of the autonomous zero-emissions rail car that would be able to operate without the use of a locomotive. Our second session today will deliver the latest on the collaborative effort to launch pioneering container-on-vessel service to the Midwest that will essentially create a new all-water north-south trade lane connecting the St. Louis region to the lower Mississippi River and onto world destinations. We'll also learn about the work underway to prepare for the safe debut of the innovative new service. Before I introduce our esteemed panel, we would like to thank our sponsors. This year's presenting sponsors include Burns McDonald, Castle Contracting, Ameren, Illinois, the Jerry Costello Group, and Crawford Murphy and Tilley. Our supporting sponsors are the Boeing Center, Design 9, and the Hauser Group. Associate sponsors for this year include the Southern Illinois Builders Association and Southern Illinois Construction Advancement Program, Terracon, and CDI. We appreciate all of the support our sponsors have provided that make it possible for us to deliver FreightWeekSTL. I'll be moderating today's session, and our panelists include Sal Acrico, Chief Executive Officer of American Patriot Container Transport, Jim Hurley, President of Hawtex Development Corporation, Captain John Aristam, United States Coast Guard, retired, Assistant Director for the Seamen's Church Institute Center for Maritime Education, Daniel Avery, Lieutenant Commander, United States Coast Guard, Prevention Department Head, Sector Upper Mississippi River, and Denson White, Director of Customer Engagement of APM Terminals. Welcome, gentlemen. We'll start with asking each of you to introduce yourself and your organization. Let's begin with Sal, CEO of American Patriot Container Transport. Since 2014, Sal has leveraged extensive maritime industry expertise and his most recent experience as a consultant and subject matter expert for business development, leadership training, risk management, and litigation support. He is playing a significant role in the development of the new container-on-vessel service that we'll be discussing today. Tell us a little bit about your company, your role in this exciting initiative, and help us set the stage for our discussion by telling us where things stand.
Okay, Mary, thank you. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to share our story and provide this update. Our APH team consists of Joe Cahegan, Bob McCormick, and myself. Our vision is to offer a new value-added service to the supply chain, which will provide optionality at a lower cost for the shippers. Also, one of our partners is Jim Hurley with Hawtex, who is a major developer for our Midwest ports. We've been working on this project for 7 years. Many moving parts. It takes time to put all these into alignment. Our new transportation system for containerized cargo connects the Midwest globally with our container-on-vessel service utilizing the inland waterway system. There are three main legs in our service. Our first leg is Louisiana Gulf Gateway, our new state-of-the-art regional gateway terminal located in Plaquemines Parish, lower Mississippi River, mile 55. LAG will provide full intermodal service at the widest, deepest part of the river with no operational constraints, and also incorporate automation and a green footprint. Our second leg is our Midwest partners, which are strategically located. All of the terminals will be state-of-the-art, which will also incorporate automation and a green footprint. Our third leg is our patented state-of-the-art purpose-built container-on-vessel. Our vessels have significant competitive advantages, which include critical mass, volume, and speed. We have two classes of vessels, our liner and our hybrid vessel. The hybrid will operate in the tributary rivers. So collectively, We offer alternative solutions to the shipper at a lower cost. Today's transportation and logistical issues have created major challenges for shippers. Let me give you our current state of affairs. We've achieved several key milestones for phase one operations. They include long-term cargo commitments for phase one operations, which is Memphis to LAG service, 4 dedicated vessels, 6.2 days round trip from Memphis to LAG. LAG has secured initial rail funding. APMT, which is part of the Maersk family, Denson's company, has agreed to be the terminal operator at LAG. Phase two, we are working with key BCOs and shippers to secure cargo commitments, which will be for an additional 4 vessels and subsequent Midwest ports, which will be determined by the shippers, hopefully by the third quarter this year. Our APH, our shipyard status, we have gone out to bid for construction of 4 new vessels. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And our operational startup date right now is projected to be the second half of 2024. Thank you.
Thanks, Sal. Now turning to Jim Hurley, President of Hawtex Development, which is leading the development of the new container on vessel port facility in Herculaneum, Missouri. Jim, introduce our audience to Hawtex Development and your role with the organization on this project.
Thank you, Mary. Hawtex Development was created by myself in 1986. I am the president and owner of the company. About 4.5 years ago, I was introduced to the APH team and entered into a partnership agreement to assist them in developing the inland container terminals on the inland waterway systems. The goal of all that, obviously, at that point in time was to identify and find suitable locations where the inland vessels could come into port, and we would develop an actual inland intermodal container yard. Memphis and St. Louis were 2 sites that we targeted within the system itself, and we are now under development at both sites. Focusing on Herculaneum, we are under a development agreement with one of the 2 property owners. The second property owner, we are in discussions to bring them into the project itself. It is privately owned, so we are dealing with approximately 75 acres for our inland terminal container facility. There is an additional 125 plus acres for further development for distribution centers, light manufacturing, things of that nature. Basically, an industrial park that will be behind and back up the container terminal itself. Those who may be familiar with the Herculaneum existing operations at their port facility now, they're 1.5 miles off of Interstate 55. There is rail connection directly to the site itself. At this point in time, we are completing 10% design drawings through the offices of John Bickerman in Virginia, one of the premier port designers in the United States, if not the world. We're anticipating having the operations available at Herculaneum by the fall of 2024.
Thank you, Jim. Next up is Denson White, Director of Customer Engagement at APM Terminals, where he has been a driver of growth at their terminal in Mobile, Alabama, and works with a diverse array of companies that perform international trade. Tell our audience a little bit about your role in launching container on vessel service to the Midwest and how you think the service will add value to the supply chain.
Yeah, thank you very much, and really appreciate the opportunity to sit with this group. APM Terminals and myself have been looking forward to this opportunity for quite some time. The supply chain has been absolutely a mess since COVID began, and we really feel like we're going to be able to provide a new aspect to the U.S. market and a new opportunity for people in the Midwest and throughout the entire U.S. to select a new method of transportation and opportunity. APM Terminals operates container facilities throughout the world, and one of the items that we have already in existence are river vessels and a method to get product inland in many other places. In Europe, this is very common already. This method of transportation, large vessels transporting things inland and into the heartland of the country. And that's what we're looking to do here via the U.S. Gulf, Plaquemines, and utilizing the Mississippi River, which and its tributaries, which has not been utilized for containerized cargo to its fullest potential.
We now welcome Captain John Aristam, Assistant Director for the Seamen's Church Institute Center for Maritime Education. John is a 27-year veteran of the United States Coast Guard and will be directly involved in helping to ensure the new container-on-vessel service is safely integrated into the other activity already underway on the Mississippi River. Please give us some details on your background and specific role in this project.
Thanks, Mary. Glad to be part of this panel today. I spent 10 years of my Coast Guard career aboard Coast Guard cutters all around the country. I was a captain on an ice-breaking tug out of Governor's Island, New York. And later on, I was the captain of a seagoing buoy tender out of Kodiak, Alaska. I also served as the Aids to Navigation Program Manager for the country. And I was the Deputy Sector Commander in Sector New Orleans. And I retired as the Director of Western Rivers for the Coast Guard, 8th Coast Guard District. I am currently the Assistant Director for Seamen's Church Institute at the Center for Maritime Education here in Paducah, Kentucky. In this role, I'm the project manager for SEI regarding our partnership with American Patriot Container Transport. This partnership is along 4 separate different areas of emphasis: vessel modeling, port feasibility studies, navigation officer assessments, and navigation officer training.
Alrighty, our final panelist is Daniel Every, Lieutenant Commander with the U.S. Coast Guard and Prevention Department Head for the sector Upper Mississippi River. As you can tell from his title, he's going to play an important role in ensuring the safe launch for this new service. Tell us a little bit about your background and the work you and your team will be doing related to this project.
I'm a graduate of the United States Merchant Marine Academy, SUNY Maritime College, and most recently Mizzou's Truman School of Government and Public Affairs. I've been in the Coast Guard for about 16 years now, working pretty much in the marine safety and the prevention field on the West Coast, the East Coast, the inland rivers, and the Great Lakes. And I also have experience as both a resource and performance analyst. As the current Prevention Department Head of Sector Upper Mississippi River, I'm responsible for both vessel and facility inspections, waterways management, aids to navigation, and marine investigations. And in this role as the caretaker of the marine transportation system on both the Upper Mississippi River, the Missouri River, and the Illinois River, as well as the tributary waters, our primary goal is to ensure that the marine transportation system and marine transportation system users are prepared for this new service through both education, outreach, and collaboration with all of our port partners and stakeholders up and down the river system, and that we have a collaborative and comprehensive group to both to discuss the development and ensure that when these vessels and this service is ready to turn on, that it's a smooth addition to the marine transportation system. And we want to work closely with both the vessel and facility owners and the operators to ensure that it's a safe and effective business from the start, and that everyone's postured to support this major development while also providing equity in the waterway use amongst all waterway users.
Very good. Thank you, Daniel. So Sal, Daniel and John are both involved in this project in part because the vessels you will be using are unlike anything that has previously operated on the Mississippi River. What can you tell us about the status of the vessels?
Yes, thank you, Mary. As I stated earlier, we have gone out for solicitation to bid for 4 dedicated vessels, firm vessels with an option for 4 more. These will be built in U.S. shipyards, the Jones Act requirement as well, so owned, operated, and built in the U.S. We continue to work closely with shipyards to achieve a mutual beneficial result within the next 30 to 45 days. And then lastly, our project's operational date is second half of 2024, which must be in alignment with the construction of our Memphis LAG Marine Operational Startup date as well. Thanks.
Jim, these vessels that they need ports to serve, can you fill us in on the latest milestones related to the new facility to be developed in Herculaneum and provide a quick update on the other Midwest ports that will be part of this all-water north-south trade lane?
Sure, Mary. Just last week, I was in St. Louis for 3 days and met with the development officials of both the Riverview Commerce Park, which has the current operations on the water, and the development officials with Del Run. The coordination between these two companies has been very impressive from my standpoint as a developer. We're very comfortable with moving forward with how we're integrating both properties into this single development for the container terminal itself and the supporting area around it. I also met with Dennis Gannon, the Jeffco County executive. The county has been very supportive in providing direction and assistance wherever they can as we move forward with the development itself. As I indicated earlier, John Vickerman is finishing up the initial design outlines for the actual container terminal itself. We expect to have those in hand before the end of this month. And based on those outlines, I will be meeting for a second time with a St. Louis region engineering firm. We are going to be going out for basically design build contracts. And so we're working with a company in the St. Louis region right now who has expressed an interest in coming to the table with us to actually be the EPC contractor on the overall project. We expect to be in that position to go to contract for the construction sometime by July of this year.
Denson, it's interesting to learn that some form of container on vessel service has been available in Europe for many years. Why did it take so long for this concept to take off here in the United States?
Yeah, that's a great question because the infrastructure in the U.S. has been built to get product into the U.S. off the U.S. West Coast. Most of our consumer goods are coming via the West Coast and coming from Asia. So it was a natural fit. There were already rail infrastructure involved with this. A lot of the cargo was getting transformed in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s from other methods of importing cargo in, from maybe bulk vessels or different methods, to containerization. So people naturally used what was already there, and that would be the rail system. And getting product from the West Coast in was the key. Now, as we get a little bit closer to the expansion of the Panama Canal and as vessels start getting a little bit larger, now the Panama Canal gets expanded in 2016 and into 2017. Now the economies of scale of vessels can just now take place in the U.S. Gulf and the U.S. East Coast. So now the businesses, the people that are utilizing international transit can now start using something like the Mississippi River and something like an idea of river vessels calling up through this way. But it really took until the Panama Canal got expanded in the 2016, 2017 timeframe. And now we're just now catching up to port infrastructure, growth of cargo coming through this way, and also just customers getting used to doing something different. We just can't change our supply chains within weeks and months at times. These are yearly contracts that take time and effort to start adjusting the way cargo moves in and out of our country. Now, after a couple of years, the Panama Canal expansion, the larger vessels calling the East Coast and now the U.S. Gulf, here becomes the opportunity for us to take advantage of that. Hence the reason why a new U.S. port in Plaquemines, Louisiana, and becoming the Louisiana Gulf Gateway is now the opportunity for us to take advantage of a river system and create these river vessels to come in and out of the Midwest. It's just been a development of time, and it took the infrastructure to catch up with what we needed.
John, can you delve a little deeper into the work that you're doing to ensure the operators of these new vessels are trained and the existing services that are being provided on the inland waterways and how they coexist with them?
Yeah, Mary, thanks. Our first effort into this is going to be doing a physical model in our Kongsberg simulators, to be developing that one in time prior to finalized construction. So that way the mariners that will be driving the ship will actually have a model to practice and learn how the ship will handle before actually departing the shipyard. So we'll be doing that first effort there on the shipyard using Kongsberg simulators, a world-class facility simulation. And coupled with that, we'll be using the feasibility studies. Since we have 4 interconnected simulators, we'll be able to have the container on vessel operating in some of those, combined with other models of existing inland towboats operating in the area of the proposed ports. So we'll be able to test how they will be able to interact, in addition to the designs with James and his folks on the different ports around the country. So those are the first 2 steps that we'll be using in the partnership.
Daniel, you've characterized the new service as one of the most significant innovations in the industry in a very long time. Can you share your thoughts to help our audience understand the significance in terms of these vessels traveling along the inland waterway system, and also tell us about the work you're doing to support the launch while ensuring equity for all users of the waterway system?
So intermodal or containerized cargo on the river system has seen limited success blending in with the rail and trucking intermodal industries over the last several decades. And historically, attempts at carriage of containers on inland rivers has been on the container on barge model. The Class 1 rail lines, they link the East Coast to the West Coast, and with major interchanges in Kansas City, St. Louis, and the Chicago areas. And all these rail lines just have major convergences in those metro areas with nexuses with other inland land ports for trucking industry. And with the fairly recent expansion of the Panama Canal and the unprecedented draft deepening projects on the East Coast and along the Gulf Coast ports, the ability to efficiently and cost effectively move containerized cargo along the river hinges on the ability to move containerized cargo at speeds that meet customers' needs while offering the shipper economy of scale. And the container on barge service has limited success because the speeds are limited by the nature of that barge and towboat service, and that the economy of scale utilizing a barge is not extraordinary. So a purpose-built vessel of the proposed design, it's an exceptionally novel idea. It fills an existing logistics gap in that area by providing economy of scale and speed that both cargo owners and logisticians want to see. And so I expect that demand will be there. And as this industry grows over the horizon, into the next long-term planning phase, that will be prepared to match that development, because internally at the Coast Guard, we need to grow too as these types of industries grow also. And this is on par for the Western rivers, same like we see on the Florida coast with the expansion of private industry space travel. And then further up the East Coast, we're seeing the development of offshore wind farms. On the inland rivers, we're having the development of container on vessel service.
All right, very good. Okay, gentlemen, is there anything else we haven't touched on that our viewers today should know, or any final comments? Sal?
Yes, Mary, thanks. I would like to reinforce our value proposition for shippers. Our new transportation alternative for containerized cargo is necessary and strategic. Adding optionality to the supply chain and shippers provides choices, potential savings, and the opportunity to enhance or expand a shipper's profile or distribution model. Also, a green footprint has tremendous value and will achieve shippers' long-term objectives. And lastly, achieve customer satisfaction by providing reliable, safe, long-term service at the lowest possible cost. Thank you.
Thanks, Sal. Jim, final comments?
You asked earlier the network that Hawtex is involved in right now, along with the Herculaneum site. We are moving forward with a Memphis facility. Again, it's the same model that we're using in Herculaneum, private ownership, on the river, existing operations. We are also in early discussions to put in a similar facility in the Joliet region. And we have had some preliminary discussions with a group in Fort Smith, Arkansas, to serve off the Arkansas River in western Arkansas. Thanks, Mary.
Denson, do you have any final comments?
Here in the U.S., it has taken some time for people to adjust into a new supply chain and a new way of doing things. After these past couple of years with COVID and with supply chains being in such disarray, the U.S. West Coast having issues, and now with the U.S. labor situation going on the West Coast that'll continue through the summer, CEOs that have never been a part of supply chain, that might have only thought about sales and manufacturing, are now stepping in and trying to understand more of how can we more efficiently move our cargo. And here's our opportunity to really make some headway in providing more solutions, more opportunities for people to choose from. This is just another option for people to select. And it's a great option. And it's going to be something that is going to be lasting and a method for people for years to come to utilize. And it's been a very underutilized option up until now as containerization goes. And we are looking very much forward to being the catalyst for the way people move their cargo going forward.
Thanks. John, any final comments?
Yeah, Mary, thanks. Throughout the 200-year history of conducting mariner training here at Seamen's Church, we've always taken the approach of safety first. We have responded to the continually changing needs of mariners throughout the time, from starting right after World War I through new radar training after World War II. And now we're beginning another evolution here of training mariners on deep draft, if you will, almost deep draft, blue water type ships that'll be traveling in the Mississippi River system. So this partnership with American Container Transport is keeping that inland marine transportation system a safe and a vital economic lifeline for the nation. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean. Daniel, final comments.
Thanks, Mary. I've been reading about domestic shipping routes and marine highway development for more than 20 years, and this personally is, I think, one of the most exciting national marine transportation developments that I've seen. And it's pretty clear that this service, it is novel. And the Coast Guard role as a regulatory government agency is to facilitate commerce, including new and innovative developments like this. So we look forward to continued collaboration with all of our stakeholders, port partners, river industry committees, and all of the involved parties to work together to make sure that the system is ready and available, again, with equity for all as the service comes online.
Thank you, gentlemen. If there's one key takeaway from today's session, I think it has to be the depth of the collaboration in place to bring this new service online. Collaboration with various partners to build out the individual ports, collaboration between the folks who will provide this service and the Coast Guard and the Seamen's Church Institute to ensure the highest levels of safety are adhered to once the service launches, and ultimately collaboration between the different port facilities along this new trade route and when the shippers who ultimately will benefit from the innovative new offering. We appreciate the updates provided by our great panelists today and look forward to hearing about new milestones being reached in the coming months. We're pleased to spotlight this tremendous collaboration, and we'll be sure to keep our audience informed as this initiative continues to advance. I'd also like to give a final thank you to our sponsors for FreightWeekSTL 2022. Their support makes it possible for us to continue to deliver the great content that is a hallmark of this annual conference. Freight Week continues tomorrow with a session focused on APM Terminal's global operation of one of the world's most comprehensive port networks, serving 10,000 customers around the globe. It's sort of an extension of today's session in that it will touch on the role of the new planned container on vessel port in the St. Louis region as part of that network. We hope you can join us and encourage you to share links to any of our Freight Week content with others who may be interested.